Good morning, everybody. John Allen here with High Security, and I have Frank Pooley with me. I'm broadcasting this morning from sunny Seattle, Washington. Frank is in San Antonio, I believe, and we're coming to you by the miracle of modern technology. We're going to talk this morning about the Titan linear actuator paired up with the 936 board. We're going to go over real quick some points about the installation, and then we're going to open it up for questions. So before we get started, just a few housekeeping things to talk about. For starters, I can't hear you, but you can still send me a message. You have a chat window in your interface, and if you send me a message, if you have a question or something, just type it in and we'll address those things as they come up. And we're trying something new this morning. We're going to show a quick video here in a little bit.
We hope.
We hope, exactly. It's a first for us. We did a dry run. We think we have the bugs ironed out, but you never know until you do it. So without further ado, I'm going to let's take a quick look here. So this is the Titan12L. We're showing it here with a C box. It has a 936 board in it. It is our latest and greatest linear actuator. It's designed to be solar friendly. It's smooth and quiet. It has some really nice new features, including a locking manual release lever. It's got a rugged aluminum cast body, and like all of our nice products, it comes pre-installed with a nice receiver. It's designed to be almost exactly like a 1550 to install. It has the same mounting geometries. It uses the same mounting brackets, but it also has the new quick release lever, and it has a much simplified way of setting the limit switches. So we'll talk about those things real quick. Here's a close-up of the release lever. It has a rubber cap to seal it from the weather. You lift the rubber cap, and there's a key lock underneath it. Pull that handle back, and what happens at that point is it disengages the motor from and the gear train from the extension tube, and it allows you just to push open the gate or push it closed, whichever you want to do, without pulling a pin and dropping the actuator on the ground. Then underneath the cover that has the nice embossing on it is the limit switch assembly, and you can see that here. There's a translucent plastic cover under it, and underneath that cover there's a blue thumb wheel and a red thumb wheel. And the red thumb wheel is for setting the closed limit, and the blue thumb wheel is for setting the open limit. So this is how it works. First thing you got to do is you got to install the bracket on the post. These dimensions here show you where to put it relative to the hinge pin on the swing gate. And this should look familiar to anyone who's ever installed a 1550 because it's the same. It's the same bracket, it's the same geometry, and the same welding task that you've been doing up to now. The motor, the Titan12L actuator comes pre-wired, but if something happens and you need to change the wiring, this wiring diagram is available in the installation manual, and getting at these wires is extremely easy. It's under that same cover where the limit assembly was. To connect it up to the 936 board, the 936 board will run two Titan12L arms. So the primary one goes on the left side, and the secondary one goes on the right. And this is the same wiring layout that the 1550 uses. And the only thing to note here, that the only thing that's even a little bit tricky to note is that the blue and the green wire go to the same terminal. And that's true about both the primary and the secondary machine. The other thing that's very nice about this is that it has the emergency override power pins. So there's a connector right between the two motor drive power connectors, a 3-pin connector. And if you move the motor drive connector over to that, the motor runs. It just runs. There's no start, there's no stop. It just runs until it hits a limit. So if you're needing to do some troubleshooting, it's a feature that we had in the past in the 836 board. It's available on this board as well. So then you're going to want to attach the gate bracket. The Titan12L ships in the retracted or the open position, so I'm showing how you would install a push close to pull open type swing gate here. You would move the gate to the open position, then clamp the bracket to the gate or tack weld it in place, and then you're going to want to run the actuator back up. You're going to want to push the actuator to the closed position. And when you push the actuator to the closed position, what it's going to do is it's going to push along that thumb wheel as it moves, and when you get it to the closed position, it's going to set the thumb wheel where the closed limit should be. So you don't have to run the thumb screw all the way from one end of the travel to the other. You can just push it when you have the handle up, and it pushes that limit out to place. And then you can do some fine tuning with the thumb wheel. So that makes it just incredibly easy to set it and get it very close right from the very beginning. One word of caution about this, though: if you go past the open position, if you over travel it in the open position or in the closed position for that matter, it will drive those thumb wheels past the limits, past where you want the limits, and you'll have to move them back manually using the fine adjustment feature. So here's a close-up of the limit switch adjustment. You can see the blue thumb wheel in there under the cover and the red thumb wheel. This picture is taken with the actuator in the retracted position. So you can see that the red thumb wheel is down close to the limit switches, which is what you would expect. And then as it moves to the open position, the blue thumb wheel will move down to the limit switch. So I said it's very much like the 1550. There are some significant improvements. The locking lever and the limit adjustments is one thing. A couple of other things that it's improved. One is it has a non-rotating extension tube. With a 1550, if you energize the motor, the extension tube will just spin and not move unless you have the pin through it or if you grab it or something like that. It's just a nut that spins on a shaft. So it's a problem with the 1550 that you need to just be careful not to do that, because it can change your limit settings. So with this, when there's power to the motor and the motor is turning, this tube is moving in and out. It just always is, and that's just makes installing it a little bit more error-proof. It has a longer stroke than the 1550. It's about 3-inch longer stroke. Nice thing about that is it's a whole lot easier to install a gate that travels more than 90 degrees. So you can get easily up to 105 degrees of motion if you need to open over a curb or where a roadway maybe curves a little bit past the gate and you need to just travel a little bit farther if the roadway is angled a little bit relative to the gate. It's just nice to have that little extra bit of travel. It's modular and designed for service in the field, so there's a lot of individual parts on it that you can swap out in the field and get the arm up and running again if you have to. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the 936 board has this emergency bypass power that the 1050 board does not have, which is just a very handy thing for troubleshooting and for manual moving while you're setting up a gate. Okay, I'm going to turn things over to Frank, and he's going to talk a little bit about the 936 board.
All right, guys, what you'll get with the 936 board is a board it was built to replace our 800 series boards. So it gives you a lot of features that you want without too much complexity. The 1050 board is a really great board. I love it. But the 936 board, what it was built to do is maybe be a little simpler, actually a lot simpler. It doesn't have a lot of extra stuff that you don't need, don't want, but it gives you all the features that you're going to need, and namely speed control. That's what everybody looks for now in the swing gates, is where we can slow the gate down before it's fully open, fully closed, give us a nice smooth stop, and that's what the 936 board really shines at, among other things. But like I say, it gives you a board that's just a lot more simple than the 1050 board. It's also a great board for retrofitting, where if you have a 635, 636 board or 835, 836 board, this board is actually the same physical size. It'll go back in place on those boards, and all the connectors are all the same actually as on the 600 and 800 series board, except for the motor connection. You will have to modify the motor connection, cutting that white plug off or red plug off the original end of the cable, and it wires into your motor controls. So just kind of a little overview on the board. Starting at the lower right area, you have your incoming power area there. That's where you bring your power from your battery into the board, also where you bring your solar panel in. The board has a built-in controller where it controls the charging back to the battery from the solar panel. Along the right side are various outputs that we have, where we can control locks, sirens, lights. We also have a blue bus input on the right side of the board. I'm going to add a little more information about it here in a minute. That is for our blue bus photo eyes, which are really, really phenomenally nice photo eyes. Upper right area of the board, the OXI plug-in receiver goes there. That's our nice radio receiver that uses our nice transmitters. Extremely good range, extremely good reliability from them. Nothing to get 700-800 feet out of them or more. Also gives you some added features, like we're able to lock the gate open with the transmitter on button 2 with this receiver. So really, really neat receiver. Upper left area of the board, we've got a couple of 3-terminal connectors up here that have ground input and 12 volts in them. These are the same connectors that we had on our 600 and 800 series board, where it makes it real easy to source power and ground for an accessory, and the input to activate the board. So right there, and of course fused power on those 12-volt outputs and those 3-terminal connectors. Along the left side of the board are all our other inputs for accessories, such as free exit devices, safeties, entrapment devices, and such, all here on the left side of the board. Bottom left corner, a grounding terminal. This board has quite a bit of surge suppression built into it. It's really good at suppressing incoming surges, but you do need to ground them. The same thing applies to the 1050 board. So if you ground that board, it really helps with surge suppression. Again, you can't guarantee that something won't get hit by lightning, but it really helps if you earth ground them. And then along the bottom of the board, as John already pointed out, are our motor connections down there at the bottom, and we can run up to 2 12-volt motors with this board. So it works in both single and dual gate applications, and speed control on those motors. Even have an option now in the board for gate syncing, where we can equalize the speed of the 2 motors so they come together nice and neat. Remember that all 900 series boards are UL 325 compliant. And what that means is that they have to have at least one monitored safety device connected to them to be functional. Now, we supply one of our blue bus photo eyes with every one of our operators when you purchase it. The blue bus photo eyes are extremely good, extremely easy to wire, and extremely reliable. The blue bus photo eyes just use a 2-wire connection. You wire from the transmitter to the receiver, and from the receiver to the board. So it's just a 2-wire connection. They're daisy chained, and it connects onto the right side of the board at the blue bus connection. You run a blue bus search, and boom, they're up and they're running. We can actually hook up to 6 of these blue bus photo eyes up to the board, and have up to 6 monitored photo eyes on that one blue bus connection with all the photo eye sets daisy chained. They are a through beam photo eye, so it does require to run wires from the transmitter to the receiver. But that's where you get your reliability from. Through beam photo eyes are always going to be more reliable than your reflectives. But if you do want to use a reflective photo beam for a monitored safety device, we can support that as well. We have 2 different inputs on the board that can be repurposed, and we can set them up as pulse safety or pulse entrapment. And we can use a 300 hertz device such as an EMX IRB RET, which is a retroreflective photo eye. We can use that as the monitor device if we so choose. So total, we could have up to 8 monitor devices on this one board, 6 blue bus, 2 300 hertz. Very flexible board, very easy to program. I think our next little video is going to show you just a couple of things that just kind of shows you examples of how easy it is to program. But again, the main thing on this board is that we just don't have a lot of extra stuff that you don't need that complicates programming. It just makes it really easy, really straightforward, and you get what you need without a bunch of extra confusion. So I'll let John take it back over.
So we're going to try to show this video now. My lovely assistant here will...
Hi there, Frank Pooley, Nice Group USA. Here to show you just a couple of things about our 936 circuit board. We're inside our training room today because it's raining outside. So let's have a look, and let me just show you a couple items about this board. Alright, this is our 936 board. It is currently connected to a Titan actuator. And we have our EPMB monitored blue bus photo eyes connected to it. Of course, this is a UL325 2016 version board, so it does require at least 1 set of monitored safety devices to be functional. Right now the board is in a standby mode. As you can see, there's no lights or anything on the board. It is in a power conserving mode for a solar application. Now, a common thing people want to adjust on this is where the gate operator slows down as it's opening and closing. That's real super easy to do, just like all the programming of this board. First of all, we just need to wake the board up by pressing any button. Alright, then to adjust the slowdown, we press the slowdown button. It's going to give us a display of SP for speed. It's a default of 3. We can change that setting to 2, 1, anything between 1 and 5. What this means is that we can slow the operator at 5% from the limit, 10%, 15%, which is the default, 20 or 25% before the limit switch. And we just press OK to lock in that value. If we run it and we decide we want to change it again, we just again press the slow down button. Gives us a SP. It's currently set to 4. Change the value and press OK. It's that easy. Just like all the other programming on this board, it all works the same. For example, same thing, the auto close right here. Press the auto close button. AC is currently set to 0, which is off. We simply scroll up or down, select the number of seconds that we want the gate to close in, and press the OK button to lock that in. Boom, it's going to close in 10 seconds now from the open position. So it's just a couple of things you can program on this board. Real easy, real simple, very user-friendly. Gives you all the features that you need out of a board, like slow start, slow stop, which is very popular, but not a lot of extra stuff that makes it confusing or cumbersome to program. So thanks, and that's it. Have a great day.
Okay, so we're having a difficult time here in Seattle knowing if that worked or not.
It did work. Yeah, you can see the video. It worked perfectly, John.
Could you hear the audio? Because we couldn't hear the audio.
Yes, could hear the audio and everything's just fine.
Okay. All right, so that is our presentation for this morning. And at this time, we want to open it up for questions. We have a few coming in already. Question number 1 is understanding more the difference in capabilities between the 936 and the 1050. What what do you lose with a 936 board that you can do with a 1050? I'm gonna let Frank take that one.
Okay. One of the things, I guess, the 936 board doesn't have the 7-day event timer in it like the 1050 board has. It's not something that's used in a lot of residential applications, so I don't think that's a big loss there. You lose some complexity in like the radio receiver options. The 1050 board gives you 15 different channels with like 18 different options per channel. Nobody uses all of those channels or all those options, so this board gives you 2 channels and 3 different options on how those channels work. Again, it's what you need for a residential application without a lot of over complexity. To be honest, I don't really think you lose anything in a residential application. I think it gives you everything you could possibly need. Maybe for your commercial applications where you need some high-level complex programming ability, the 1050 board may shine, but honestly, in residential applications, this board does everything you need it to do.
Okay. I guess a couple of other people were not able to see the video. For those who couldn't see the video, we're going to put it up on our YouTube channel later today, so you can check back there and watch the video. We're also going to put we're recording the webinar, and we'll put that up on our website as well. Next question, dual gates. Can you get the gates to open and close at the same time?
Yes, the board has a couple of different options here. It has a dual gate delay to where we can actually delay one leaf prior to the other one opening, and then that delay would obviously switch on closing. So if we have an overlap in the gates for some kind of signage or a mag lock or something like that, we have a dual gate delay. But it also has a gate sync in it, or gate synchronization. And what that does is it takes motor 1. Motor 1 always needs to be your shortest runtime motor. Your motor 2 would be your longest runtime motor. And what it will do is it will slow motor 1 output down to equalize the runtime between motor 1 and motor 2. So we have both dual gate delay and gate synchronization on this board.
Okay, the next question is, what if you need or want a reflective photo eye? Will NICE be coming out with a reflective photo eye?
I hope so. It'd really be great if we would come out with a blue bus reflective photo eye. I personally am not a fan of reflective photo eyes. You lose a ton of reliability when you go to a reflective photo eye. So if I possibly can run wires, I use through beam photo eyes. But I do understand that there are occasions where maybe it's just really almost impossible to cross that driveway. Customer has a nice custom cobblestone driveway or something that he won't allow you to cut, and you can't jet under it or whatever. So sometimes there's an application where we have to use reflective. And so currently we do have 300 hertz inputs on the board, or inputs that we can program for a 300 hertz input, where we could use, for example, an EMX RB RET in a reflective manner to meet the monitoring requirements. But at this time, NICE does not make a reflective photo eye, but hopefully we will soon.
Okay. I think that NICE is working on a reflective photo eye. I just really can't speculate on when it will be ready for market. Next question. Can the system fully retrofit an older GTO install? If 5 wires are already run to the arms, it looks like we can use the Titan directly for those. Can we use the existing power wiring they use for the 18-volt transformer?
Our motors actually have 7 wires in the cable. We have 2 motor wires, 3 limit wires, and 2 encoder wires. So we use all 7 wires in our cable. I would not reuse a GTO wiring for a couple of reasons. A, there's not enough wires. You would have to lose something. You could lose the encoder. You could make it work without the encoder. True. But also their motor wires are considerably smaller than ours. So I definitely would not reuse their cables. Our cables, again, the motor wires are 14 gauge. Our motors are larger, draw more current. and so we put bigger motor wires to make sure we supply that full amperage and current to those motors. As far as transformer charging to the battery, yes, you actually could repurpose their transformer maybe if you the solar power inputs at the lower right corner of the board. While it does say solar P, and 90% of the time you're going to be connecting a solar panel to that input, the board will use that voltage to control the charging to the battery. We actually could hook up a low voltage transformer to that. So like an 18-volt DC transformer could be used, could be connected to the solar panel input of the board. The board doesn't care if it's a solar panel or a transformer as long as it's DC voltage. And the board would use that voltage to charge the battery. So absolutely, you could reuse their transformer for battery charging.
Okay, well that's helpful to know. Question: can you use a 936 with an 816 arm?
Absolutely, yes. The 936 board will actually run 816 arms, Titan arms. It'll also run a 416 arm. So this board actually can retrofit like into an Apollo 1500. Speed control is most precise and is best done with one of the motors that has a speed sensor or an encoder in it, like the 816 actuator or the Titan actuator. But we actually can get speed control even from our 416 actuator that doesn't have a smart sensor or encoder in it. So the 936 board can basically run any of our 12-volt motors. We're even currently testing it right now in our slide gates. We haven't released it for use in our slide gates yet officially. I know some people have already put these boards in slide gate applications, but we're currently doing some more testing and just making sure that everything's gonna work like we expect it to on our slide gate motors, and then it'll be officially released for that as soon as we're confident in that.
Okay. Any other questions out there? Well, while we're waiting to see if anybody has any last questions, I do want to mention that we are running a promotion this summer with the Titan package with a 936 board. So we have special promotional pricing that's available now, and so this is a really good time to get out there and give these guys a try. You can talk to your distributor about that to get more information, or you can check our website. I will say it's a killer promotion.
I was going to agree with you there, John, and just point that out. It is a really killer promotion, a really good price. The promotion, the packages, there's a solar package and an AC package where the system's going to come complete with a 5-watt solar panel or a fully automatic battery charger, depending on which way you go. 2 NT transmitters that work with the nice receivers, the photo eyes, everything you need except the battery for a complete system. I mean, it's going to be a really nice promotion.
Along with that, we are offering an opportunity to enter a contest to win a Cabela's gift card. We have 3 Cabela's gift cards that we're going to give away. So I think the grand prize is like $1,500, $1,500 gift card to Cabela's. So in order to enter that promotion, you'll need to register your machine with us, and every new installation that gets registered is an entry into the drawing for the gift cards. And everybody who enters will get a very nice Titan coffee mug. It's more than a coffee mug. It's more of like an insulated tumbler. It's a very cool piece of equipment, and that is available to everybody who enters while supplies last. Okay, we got a couple more questions coming in. The board has been released twice before. How well has this version been tested, and when do we expect to start seeing this board in kits? So the board in kit is available now. That's the promotion that we're doing this summer, and I'm going to let Frank talk about whether or not you should trust this board.
Everybody trusts me, right? The
Nobody
900
trusts me, so you're the voice of authority here, Frank.
Well, we admit that we jumped the gun on the initial release of the 936 board last year. When the 800 series board had to be discontinued because we could not get the microprocessors for it anymore, and it was just a sudden thing that we lost the 800 series board. We rushed to build this board. Thought we had all the bugs worked out of it. We released it. In between the time that the testing was done and the release, a component got changed, and it was a disaster. The boards did not work like they should have whenever they went out of here. As soon as we realized what the problem was and that there was a significant problem, we pulled the boards back and we stopped production of the boards, and we regrouped. It's been over a year. I have played a major part in the testing in this past year. As well as, of course, our R&D team and a number of our customers out there. I have used a number of these 900 series boards personally. Again, we've made a ton of improvements on the board in that time. It really, more than just fixing the problems that were in it in the initial release, we made a lot of improvements to it. And the board is very, very reliable, incredibly good board. Speed control is awesome. The force settings on the obstruction injection, everything works like it's supposed to. It's a really good board. You know, the only thing I can say is I hope you'll trust us. I hope you'll believe me when I say that we did our testing and that we've got all the problems ironed out. This promotion is our way of saying try it again at a really, really good price. And I think you'll be very, very pleased. Like I said, I think the biggest hiccup that everybody's having with the operators right now is more in UL 325 compliancy and meeting the requirements of the monitoring. If you have questions about that, if you don't understand it, get with us. Let us explain how it can be done and what works for it. Again, we are putting one of our Blue Bus photo eyes with every one of these operators. That will meet the monitoring requirements. That is the biggest stumbling block that people are having right now with all the operators from every manufacturer is meeting monitoring requirements. So that's not an issue with this board. This board does that awesomely. So trust us, we got it done. It's working really good.
And I would also just like to add to that we have done an extensive field test. We have quite a few of these out in the field, including, I think Frank's got one in his property. I know Michael Landino, one of our other sales reps, has installed one in his property. We've dozens of them that have been installed for months now, and everything has gone just stellar. So it looks like all of the problems that tripped us up in the initial launch are behind us. So we're really highly confident in this board at this time. And we wouldn't be doing this if we weren't confident in it.
Exactly. And actually, the board has been released for some time now. I believe about a month and a half, I believe. And everything that we've got, all the feedback we've got so far on what's gone out of here has just been extremely positive.
Okay, I have a question about a single button remote. I can take that question. I don't think that's not in our plans to do a single button remote. There's probably a way that you can take a 2-button remote and make it work like a single button remote by programming both buttons to do the same thing. Yeah,
actually there is a way of doing the mode 2 programming that you can program both buttons into channel 1 on this receiver. But your standard programming with this board, you're going to get 3 options for your transmitter, and all nice transmitters are 2-button. We also have 4-button transmitters, but the majority of the people use the 2-button transmitters. They're available in one size with a visor clip, another that's pendant. And these transmitters, when you program them in what we call Mode 1 programming, which is the easiest programming method, you've got 3 options in the board, options 1, 2, and 3 in your radio channels. Option 1, it makes button 1 step-by-step and makes button 2 non-functional. Option 2 makes button 1 non-functional and button 2 step-by-step. And so what that gives you is if you have, let's say, a circle driveway where you're going to have an entrance and an exit, and you have transmitters for both, button 1 could operate one gate, and button 2 would operate the other gate without any interference between. And then our third option on our radio channels is for button 1 to be step-by-step, and then button 2 would be a toggle and latch mode. Toggle and latch, what that does is when you push button 2, it opens the gate and locks it in the fully open position until you press button number 2 again, unlocking it and closing the gate. So it's a really neat way to lock the gate open from a wireless device or a transmitter. The board can still go into standby mode. It doesn't have any higher current consumption when locked open than when it's in a normal closed position. So just some really neat features with these 2-button transmitters and the OXI receiver. But no, there are no plans to make a single button transmitter with only 1 button on it.
Thanks, Frank. So that's it. We are out of time here, so we're going to wrap this up. We will be putting this webinar up on our website, and we will also post the video that we showed in case it didn't come through on your computer. It was just a real quick demo of how to use the 936 board and how to set it up. That'll be available probably later today. To get the webinar up, it'll probably be a day or 2. So you can invite all your friends to come see the tape of that. And that's it. Thank you very much for your attention and your time this morning, and have a great day.
Thanks for joining us, y'all, and feel free to contact us if you need us.
We'll see you next time.